This is tomato soup and grilled cheese, but different. It's part of a video series called The Same But Different. Watch this video for more. It doesn't get more American than tomato soup and grilled cheese. It's up there with Bonnie and Clyde, Frank Sinatra and the Mafia, Michael Jackson and Macaulay Culkin, and watching a Hollywood studio depict a young man shagging an apple pie from the comfort of your own car. On one side you have the crunchy, gooey, savory, and on the other side you have the silky, sweet and sour, fruity tomato soup. In this video you're going to see crunchy grilled gooey cheese shots, silky soup shots, and we'll find out if one simple, secret, lesser known addition, cranberry, can add complexity and also making tomato soup more tomato soup like. This is tomato soup and grilled cheese 1.0. Roll on with the food. I like to make tomato soup with fresh tomatoes. I'm using here some plum tomatoes and kumatos. In America, I think you call them tomatoes and kumatos. I'm not sure, but these things are lovely. Kumato is actually a trade name given to a patented cultivar of tomato developed in Spain called the Olmeca. It went by the experimental number SX387. Fun fact, you cannot buy the seeds to these things and you have to pay royalties if you want to grow them. Crazy. You don't necessarily have to use them, but I love them. They not only look really beautiful, they add their own unique sweet and sour to the soup. The other main ingredient is onion, good old white onion. The first task of the day is to get a gastric on the boil. Red wine vinegar and sugar. The main reason for the gastric is to enhance the flavors of the three tomatoes. Tomatoes are naturally acidic and sweet, and the gastric is both of those things and elevates the flavors already inherent in a tomato. After I've got the gastric on, I want to sweat the onions down in a full stick of butter. That is 1/4 pound, and then I'll get to de-seeding the tomatoes. The reason I do this instead of just chucking them in and straining it off later is one, for convenience. The other reason is because the seeds and the white parts of the tomato is where you'll find the umami, the savory taste. If you want to add that, by all means do it, but I felt like I was getting enough of those elements from the blue cheese sandwich. You want to sweat your onions down, but not to the point where they're getting all brown. Mine got a little bit of a caramelization on them, and this is the point where I realized I'd reduced the gastric a bit too much, so I added a bit more of each ingredient, which you don't necessarily have to use all of. Whilst everything was being simmered, I took the opportunity to prep up my cheese. I'm using some beautiful 1 year aged sharp white cheddar and some blue cheese. And I feel like the cheddar really balances out the blue cheese and it's not all one note cheese, and vice versa. After the other ingredients have been sweated down for a bit, I'm going to add the tinned tomatoes. They're just plain plum tomatoes, and another 1/2 stick of butter. So how do you thicken homemade tomato soup? Well, everything you see in this pan is going to give it the exact texture that you need. Silky, smooth, nice and thick. It's even creamy without milk or cream. Incidentally, I used unsalted butter for this recipe, as I always do, so that I can add my own salt and pepper after the fact. I've added salt, pepper and the gastric, give it a little taste, and it was bloody delicious. Remember, when you're salting something, you're not trying to taste the salt. If you taste any salt, it might be too salty. Now I'm going to add the cranberries. This is the point where every time I've told any people about this recipe, they can't understand the cranberry part. Well, are you ready for a wee bit of science? This is quite a long section, so if you want to skip it, there's a too long didn't read at the end. Part of what gives cranberries their flavour are a volatile compound called phenols, otherwise known as hydroxybenzenes. They have a chain of 6 carbon atoms in a ring. I will warn you though, talking like this will definitely get you interrupted at a dinner party for your own good. Volatile compounds are what give the taste of food about 80% of its flavor that we perceive anyways. This is to say taste and flavor are different. You taste sweet, salty, umami, etc., but flavors come from volatile compounds, or aromas as they're called. Examples of foods containing phenols are on this left column: cinnamon, coffee, sake, wine, and tea, to name a few. Cranberries provide a tart and sweet flavor, but they also provide something else, from the phenols particularly, is an astringency. Astringency is actually part of a group called trigeminal sensations. So while we taste the 5 basic tastes on our tongue, and 80% of our flavor comes from volatile compounds, trigeminal sensations give us feelings like temperature, texture, cooling, heat from spice in particular, and these act to support mainly flavors. So while the sweet and sour tastes of a cranberry complement the ingredients on the right, the astringency helps to balance them out. It props the other flavors up. Again, think of wine. The tannins, more often than not, support the structure of the wine and bring all of the flavors to the forefront, more pronounced because of the juxtaposition. And that's exactly what the cranberries are doing in this dish. They're acting as a complement to the tomatoes, the sugar and the vinegar, but at the same time they're providing a juxtaposition and a contrast to them as well. Incidentally, red wine vinegar also has a fair amount of phenolic compounds in it, but I left that in the right hand column with the rest of the ingredients just for the sake of clarity. But it still further justifies the inclusion of cranberries. I close my case. The TLDR is that cranberries complement tomatoes by providing more of the sweet and sour taste and flavor compounds that tomatoes have, but they also provide a juxtaposition by way of astringency.
Juxtaposition?
Just like how I used those previous scenes to demonstrate juxtaposition. I look really smart on top, but on the bottom I'm riding a inflatable dinosaur. Time to make the grilled cheese. Lovely sourdough bread that I bought from the market with the sharp white cheddar and the crumbled blue cheese. Incidentally, we call these types of sandwiches toasties in England. I heard you like butter with your butter, so anyways, obviously you need something, and I use some more unsalted butter and just get this thing toasty and all of those lovely Maillard reactions. I decided that it didn't feel quite cheesy enough when I pressed down on it, so I added another layer full of both cheeses. Yep, that feels way better. As soon as one side is lovely and golden brown, flip it over. I'm sure none of this part of the video needs explanation. I put mine in the oven on low just so it was ready for when I was serving the soup, and this is a cheeky little mini sandwich taste, and I needed to. Are you ready for the sound of deliciousness? This is called the wobble check, where you check for texture, and she looks lovely. I, in particular, myself, my own preference is I have a bit of an aversion to the flavors of blue cheese. I'm sure you've already learnt that. Something about the putrescines, that's what they call putrescines. So I drizzled honey all over my sandwich. It might seem a bit gratuitous to you, and like everything on this channel, it's purely optional and for demonstration, but it worked superbly in my opinion. This dish was a big hit with my resident taste tester and girlfriend Jen. She stopped eating after a few spoonfuls because she said she can't eat a lot of cream, and when I informed her that it has no cream, she picked that spoon back up. I hope you make it and enjoy it yourself. Do I really consider this to be the perfect tomato soup? In a way, I do. In the dictionary, perfect is defined as having all the required or desirable elements, qualities, or characteristics as good as it possibly can be. Make something completely free from faults or defects, or as close to such a condition as possible. This section of the video going forward is going to be where I suggest shortcuts, substitutions and variations. And that's another argument for the label perfect, is because honestly it doesn't require any shortcuts. You can make this in an hour or two, not even, with just a few ingredients that may possibly be sitting in your fridge and pantry right now. You don't necessarily need the cranberries, you can leave them out. They're just there to add something different because it's the same but different, and to also exemplify the art of balancing flavors, tastes and sensations in cooking in general. It tasted pretty perfect to me, but like everything else, perfection is subjective. I don't honestly believe in true perfection. I think that everything can always be changed in some way and be just as good for different reasons. I urge you to do the same. For me, going forward, as far as soups are concerned and as far as this dish is concerned, I'm going to experiment with pressure cooking soups, especially this one. I've been reading up on pressure cooking soups and stocks, and I'll obviously be experimenting with novel additions. I had a lot of fun making this video and I really enjoyed the dish, and I hope you do as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.